Reading Rayford presents The Stranger by Sean Rayford. Narrated by Sean Rayford. If you aren't signed up for Reading Rayford email list yet, please do so by checking out the website reading-rayford.com. Chapter 1. One in the Trunk. Rage surged throughout his veins. He entered the garage and looked at what he put in the trunk of a stupid hybrid. "Why?" he said. The woman stared at him with a confused look. Her name was Erica Stevens. She cut him off earlier in the day on Highway 45, and she had the nerve to flip him off. Erica could not answer because he put a rag in her mouth. He yanked it out. "Why?" "Why what?" she asked. "Why are you a vegetarian? That's not natural," he said, wanting to stab her in the face. "It's healthy for me," Erica said, whimpering. "What? Are you an idiot?" "Humans evolved to eat meat," he said, stuffing the rag back into her mouth. He slammed the trunk shut. It was not his car. He wouldn't be caught dead driving such a thing. But he wanted to take Erica somewhere else. He would normally do what he does in her house, but he was starving. He would go get food and bring her back, or take her to an abandoned building. But he could not eat the crap Erica had in her fridge. Gross. Melvin drove around for a few minutes and saw Burger King. He loved their double meat Whoppers, and the fries were the best. He parked in the spot farthest away from the door. He got out and opened the trunk. Erica wasn't screaming or making noise, just staring at him. He leaned over and said, "If you make any noise, I will pull your fingernails out and make you eat your ears. You understand?" he asked. She nodded. He shut the trunk and made his way to the front door. As he walked, a white Land Rover pulled in and parked in the handicap spot. A rich lady was driving. He entered and got in line. There was an old lady and a young boy ahead of him. The door opened and the rich lady came inside. She was talking on the cell phone. She waited behind him. He could hear her speaking Spanish. She looked white in the Land Rover. He turned to look at her and now saw she was light-skinned Hispanic, about 35 to 38 years old. At one time, she might have been semi-pretty back in high school, when boys filled her throat and other orifices with jizz for doing her homework. But now she was losing her looks. The skin on her face was paper-thin, and her bags were bad. Whatever surgeries and or treatments she had or was doing hadn't helped. She stopped talking and stared at him. "What the hell you looking at, Blackie?" she asked, holding her big diamond ring up. "I'm married. Stop gawking, loser." He wanted to laugh because she called him Blackie. He was black, but he just didn't expect it. It was funny. Not many things amused Melvin Meeks. And loser? How funny. "I am sorry. I didn't mean to stare," he said, turning around. He heard her say in Spanish, "I don't know. Some black guy staring at me." "Yeah, I know, girl. I look good. But you know how it is with black guys. They're like fucking animals. They don't know how to control that shit," she said. Anger sparked inside of him. She didn't know that he knew Spanish. She was rude. He moved up to the register and ordered his food. Then he went to the bathroom. When he got out, he watched the Land Rover lady grab her food. His food was on the counter, and he grabbed it and left after her. He had to follow her because Erica's car was in the same direction as her Land Rover. Just before she reached her vehicle, she stopped and faced him, holding something in her hand. "Why you following me, Blackie? You need some mace in your ugly face?" she said. "Whoa, lady. My car's over there," he said, pointing at Erica's stupid hybrid past her vehicle. She looked behind her, saw the car. "Oh, okay. Thought you were following me." She did not apologize. He just stared at her. She stared back stupidly, like a goat. "What? You like what you see? Take a fucking picture, you little dick freak," she said, still holding the mace. The anger did not subside. It grew, doubling, tripling within seconds. "Ma'am, I just want to go to my car, that's all," he said. imagining her with her stomach cut open. She put the mace away and walked to her vehicle, staring at him the whole time. When Melvin made it to the hybrid, the rage was too much. He decided that he would kill her too. Chapter 2. That's my son. 27 years ago. Melvin looked at his dad. He just got out of prison 2 weeks ago. He did a nickel, which meant he served 5 years. Exactly what his father did to go to prison, but he knew there were drugs involved. They were driving in a car his dad borrowed from a friend. "Dad, can I have a Coke?" he asked. "Yeah, but I need to talk to someone first. Then I'll get both of us a Coke." "How about we get a burger with Cokes?" Melvin was happy. "Okay, Dad, I like burgers." Melvin's mama, a white drug addict and a prostitute from Katy, crack and heroin, and his dad, a black drug dealer from Fifth Ward. His dad moved in with him and his mama, although they weren't together anymore. His dad would only stay there until he could get his own place. It wasn't the best environment for a young boy, but he was happy to have his dad back. His dad parked and got out. He looked through the window and said, "Come on, Melvin. I need some help." Melvin smiled and got out. "Where are we going, Dad?" "Just follow me," he said. Melvin followed him around the building and the next block and went halfway down an alley. The alley was dirty. The ground was filled with trash. None of it seemed to find its way inside the dumpsters that were in the alley. They just stood there. "Dad, what are we doing here?" It stank worse than homeless Brian, the bum who walked down his street sometimes. "We are waiting for this fool who thinks I'm a bitch," he replied. His dad pulled out a knife from his back pocket. He unfolded it and handed it to Melvin. "What's this for?" he asked. "Is it mine?" Melvin always wanted a knife. "Yeah, it's yours. If I need your help with this fool, you better help me." "You're my dad. I will always help you," Melvin said, nodding. His dad grinned at him. "That's my boy." At that moment, a door swung open. A man came out. It was some big Mexican, or that's what Melvin thought. "Sup, George?" his dad asked the Mexican. He looked up and saw Melvin's dad. "Oh, shit. Look at you, Andre. When did you get out?" George asked, moving towards his dad, wanting to shake his hand. Then his dad pulled out a pistol and aimed it at George. "What's this shit, man?" Melvin liked the sight of the gun. It was like he was in a movie. Violent movies were his favorite. "I know it was you who snitched." "Not me, homie. I would never snitch. You know me," George said. His dad shot George in the leg. The big man fell, not far from Melvin. Melvin looked at his dad. "Do you need help?" He laughed, staring at Melvin. "I don't know, do I?" Melvin grabbed the knife and moved around to the back of George. He looked up at his dad. He still aimed the pistol at him. "What you gonna do?" "Hang on, Andre. All right, I snitched. But I had no choice, man. The cops were going to give me some serious time. My old lady and kids couldn't make it without me, you know," George said. "So I gotta go to prison and leave my son without a father for the last 5 years?" Melvin did not like that. His dad wasn't perfect, but he was Melvin's dad. He was in prison because this Mexican told the cops something. He had missed him over the years. Rage had overcome him like never before. It was as if his entire body had been dipped in the pool of liquid rage. He grabbed George's head by the hair. "This is for sending my dad to prison," he said, slicing the Mexican's throat. "Oh, shit," Melvin's dad said, grinning. "That's my son." Chapter 3. "Hello, Maggie." Melvin followed the Land Rover bitch from Burger King parking lot to a big house in River Oaks. It figured, entitled bitch. She probably didn't think her shit stank. Once he knew where she lived, he drove the hybrid back to Erica's house. He ate his meal and brought Erica back in the house. Thinking about the new one, he simply cut Erica's head off and stuck it in the microwave. He wore gloves while he was in her house, so there was no need to wipe anything down. He searched and found a few things of value. Before he left, he put 30 minutes on the microwave and chuckled as he turned it on. her head turned inside the microwave. He walked to his truck, a Toyota Tacoma. He lived in a small camper that he pulled behind the Tacoma. It was parked in a storage unit. Melvin went to the camper and slept for a few hours. He only slept but a few hours every day. The next morning, he got up and shaved. He had 2 cups of coffee. He then hit the road, driving to River Oaks. He parked a couple of houses down from the Land Rover bitch and waited. He waited some more. Then, finally, he saw him, the mailman. After the mailman dropped off the mail at her house, Melvin got out and went to the mailbox and grabbed the mail. He did not take it. He just read the names. Margarita and Jesse Burling. Margarita went by Maggie. Maggie was on some of the mail. Good to know. Melvin liked to know who was in a house before breaking and entering. There might be children too, but that was not his concern. It was after lunch and he was hungry. He grabbed a sub and a water. He couldn't help but think about what he was going to do to her and her husband if he was there. Later that night, he went along the bayou and entered their property through the back. It was on a wooded acre. It made you forget you were in the city. He entered the property. The security system was a joke. Her husband was indeed there. Maggie and Jesse slept in the master bedroom. Their children, a boy and a girl, slept in their own beds. The kids were 8-year-old twins. How cute. He tied the boy up, stuffed a sock in his mouth, and then blindfolded the boy before he was really awake. After he hog-tied and blindfolded the girl, Melvin told her how he would make tiny incisions all over her body and insert roaches inside them if she didn't do what he said. She agreed. If he knew anything about little girls, bugs scared them more than the threat of pain or death. He turned on the light to the master bedroom. The bitch woke and saw him with a knife to her daughter's neck. He tossed a roll of duct tape that he bought with him and said, "Hello, Maggie." "You." Moving the knife, Melvin smiled at her. "Me?" "Okay, please don't hurt her," she begged. "Who is this?" Jesse asked. "I don't know, a stranger I ran into at Burger King earlier," she replied. Tape Jesse's hands behind his back. "But why? Hurry up. I won't kill her or the boy." "Use the duct tape, Maggie. Hurry up," Melvin said. He knew she wanted to ask how he knew their names, but she remained silent. Maggie did use the duct tape to bind Jesse's hands behind his back. "Who are you, and why are you doing this?" Jesse asked. He pushed the daughter to Maggie. "Put your hands behind your back, Maggie." "No, please leave. We won't say anything, I promise," Maggie said. "Do it now, or I will kill your children in front of you," Melvin said. She put her hands behind her back, and he taped her wrists together. Then he taped her ankles together, and then Jesse's. He found the hamper and found dirty socks. He stuffed their mouths with the socks. Melvin was 6'2" and weighed 220. He was strong. He picked up Jesse with no problem. Melvin positioned him in a chair that was in the corner of the bedroom. He sat Maggie on the bed. "Okay, let me go get the other baby." Both parents moaned and squirmed. He came back with the boy and tossed him next to the girl. He sat down next to Maggie. He looked at Jesse and smiled. "Are you wondering why I'm here?" Jesse moaned. "I'm going to take the sock out so we can talk. If you make noise or start yelling to wake the neighbors, I will feed your nipples to the twins," he said. Jesse nodded. Melvin took out the dirty sock. "Why are you here?" Jesse asked. Melvin glanced at Maggie. "She's extremely rude." "What do you mean?" Jesse asked. "Oh, Maggie, You didn't tell your hubby how you treated me at Burger King, he asked. She shook her head. She was rude, and that gives you a right to come into our home and threaten us like this? Jessie asked. Melvin did not like his tone. Why do you ask me that? Why not ask your bitch wife why she was rude to me? It's the reason both of you will lose your lives tonight, he said, smiling at him. Jessie wanted to say something, but Melvin stuffed a sock back into his mouth, then pulled a knife, one he got from the kitchen, and cut off 3 of Jessie's toes and force-fed them to Maggie and each twin. Chapter 4. Mad as a Hatter. You're mad, Jessie said. Melvin understood what he meant. Jessie, with half his teeth missing because of a hammer, meant mad as in crazy, like the Mad Hatter. He did not believe he was mad or crazy. Looking at Jessie made him laugh. Melvin cut off a part of Jessie's scalp and fed it to Maggie. The skull showed through blood. I might be mad, but you look stupid. Melvin used Maggie's phone to record her eating the partial scalp. Both parents had the socks out of their mouths now. They knew what would happen if they made too much noise. Maggie, what's your mother's name? He asked. Patricia Cortez. What's her address? Snail mail, Melvin asked. I'm not going to tell you her address. You'll just go kill her, Maggie said. He nodded. I thought you learned when I asked you for something, I expect you to give it to me. With a meat cleaver he found in the kitchen, Melvin chopped off the boy's right foot. He had to stuff the parents' mouths with socks again due to all the screaming. The boy almost died from blood loss, but Melvin tied the ankle and the bleeding stopped. Eventually, Maggie gave him her mother's address. He found a big enough box in the garage. He brought it up with him. He put the boy's foot inside. What are you going to do to us? Jessie asked. Melvin smiled and said, Well, I'm going to have some fun. He stuffed the sock back into his mouth and cut Jessie's nipples off, throwing them on the floor. You know, Jessie, if your wife wasn't so rude to me, you'd be asleep right now, Melvin said. Next, Melvin cut Jessie's left hand off and put it in the box, along with his son's foot. He looked at the boy and said, Oh shit, I almost made a mistake. Melvin grabbed the girl and put her little body next to Maggie. Maggie tried to scream, but she couldn't. Dirty sock prevented her. Melvin showed her the knife. Your kids are twins. They need to look the same, he said, cutting off the girl's foot. Both parents moaned as loud as they could, but that was all they could do. He put the foot in the box, too. Okay, I am almost done with Jessie, Melvin said. He walked over and stabbed him in the throat. Maggie moaned, writhing, but she couldn't do anything. It made Melvin so happy that she was hurting so much. Blood gushed out from the wound, spilling onto the floor. He cut through the windpipe. He let Jessie's head fall backwards. His head was still attached. It dangled like the part that covered the head on the hoodie. When he looked up, he realized the twins were asleep or passed out, but Maggie was still awake. He took her sock out. She didn't speak, dead inside maybe. Don't you want to tell me something? He said. Like what? I don't know. Are you going to kill me and the kids now? She asked. Oh, I won't kill your kids. They will live. Live how? I don't know. But you won't see tomorrow, Melvin said. Why are you going to kill me? Because I was a little rude to you? She asked. Yes. Chapter 5. Goodbye, Maggie. Melvin cut both of Maggie's pinky toes off and fed them to the twins. Each one got a pinky. They resisted, but he finally forced them down their throats. Doing this to the kids did nothing for him, but watching Maggie's reaction was priceless. He was giddy when he watched Maggie while he made the boy drink liquid detergent. and when Maggie lost it when she watched her daughter drink some bleach. Melvin loved watching Maggie suffer. Don't worry, Maggie. I told you I wouldn't kill them. They will survive. They are blindfolded, so they can't see me. If they did see me, then I would have to kill them. But they haven't. And a little detergent and bleach won't kill them. Trust me. I've done everything you could think of, and it won't kill them. Maybe they will be a little sick, but that's it. He cut off several more of her toes and fed them to her. Wow, you were hungry. I guess you didn't get enough food from Burger King. He laughed at his joke. She didn't. After he worked on her for 30 minutes, Maggie was not recognizable. It was going to be difficult for Patricia to ID the body. He flushed all her hair down the toilet. Her nose he shoved up inside her anus so she could smell the stink. Melvin chuckled at the thought of her having to ID her daughter. He stared at Maggie. She was still alive. Barely, but she was still alive. Maggie, how are you feeling now? You still want to be rude to me? I don't understand why people are rude. It is totally uncalled for. Manners don't cost anything. My mama, God rest her soul, taught me that. And she was a whore, drug addict, and she even knew how to be polite in public, he said. I don't even know your name, she said. Oh, how rude of me, he said, emphasizing the word rude. Then he laughed out loud. My name is Melvin Meeks, ma'am. Melvin, I think I have a cousin named Melvin, she said. She coughed. I have a lot of cousins. But you don't have a lot of minutes to live, Maggie. You're going to leave your beautiful babies behind. Do you think Patricia or one of your cousins will take care of them? Melvin asked. My mother will. She's still young enough. She'll be 60 in a couple of years, Maggie said. Yeah, she could take care of them for at least a few more years. Get them through high school, maybe. She nodded. Yeah. Then they will have to figure things out on their own. Like all of us, right? He said. He didn't say anything else. Melvin shoved a knife into her neck, staring into her eyes. Goodbye, Maggie. Chapter 6. A Package for Patricia. Melvin looked at the new orphans. He made them that way. He felt nothing. Nothing good or bad. Hey, you two. I need to look around and then I will leave. I'm going to leave a knife in here. That way you will be able to cut yourselves free. But wait until I'm gone before you start looking for the knife. When you're free, call 911, okay? Melvin said. Both of them nodded. Melvin walked the house, checking in places where nanny cams would be hiding. He found none. He didn't ask, but Maggie was probably a full-time mother. Probably a bad one, but still a mother. And cunt. And huge bitch. God, how Melvin hated rude people. He searched the house for valuables, and he found Jesse's watch collection. He had 8 high-end timepieces. Maggie had a nice collection of jewelry. Melvin never really had to take valuables. His dad left him a lot of money before he went to prison. It was 10 years ago, and for the last time. His dad died about 6 years ago. He was old, in his 60s. But someone stabbed him and he bled out. But Melvin liked keeping some of the valuables of those he killed. He gathered everything he wanted to take in the kitchen. Melvin went up to the twins and told them he was leaving. Then he left the big house. Melvin traversed the backyard and woods back to his truck. He placed everything in the bed and drove to the storage unit. When he entered his trailer, he got very sleepy. He didn't even take his clothes off. He laid down and fell asleep. When he woke the next morning, he made coffee. He had a cup while he got the package ready to mail off. Once it was ready, he took a shower. He got dressed, including a baseball cap from Jesse's office, taking a coffee-filled thermos, and drove off. It was a hot day, and he liked it hot. Windows down, feeling the air on his left hand and arm. Melvin pulled into the post office. He opened the glove compartment and pulled out sunglasses that were attached to a fake graying beard. He bought it a couple of weeks ago off the internet. After this, he would throw it away. He looked at it in the rearview mirror, patting the beard down, sticking it to his face. Taking a sip of coffee, he opened the door. He stretched, he put the thermos on the seat and shut the door. He grabbed a box, the one he found in Maggie and Jesse's garage. It had the body parts of each family member. All of the parts were wrapped in plastic, and styrofoam peanuts filled the empty space in the box. He also included a short handwritten note on how much of a rude bitch Maggie was, and that's why she and Jesse died. He read the to address again, making sure it was one Maggie told him it was. Melvin dropped the package off and left. He wondered how Patricia would react. He chuckled and drove to Burger King so he could have another coffee and some breakfast. The end. Melvin said. Both of them nodded. Melvin walked the house, checking in places where nanny cams would be hiding. He found none. He didn't ask, but Maggie was probably a full-time mother. Probably a bad one, but still a mother. And cunt. And huge bitch. God, how Melvin hated rude people. He searched the house for valuables, and he found Jesse's watch collection. He had 8 high-end timepieces. Maggie had a nice collection of jewelry. Melvin never really had to take valuables. His dad left him a lot of money before he went to prison. It was 10 years ago, and for the last time. His dad died about 6 years ago. He was old, in his 60s, but someone stabbed him and he bled out. But Melvin liked keeping some of the valuables of those he killed. He gathered everything he wanted to take in the kitchen. Melvin went up to the twins and told them he was leaving. Then he left the big house. Melvin traversed the backyard and woods back to his truck. He placed everything in the bed and drove to the storage unit. When he entered his trailer, he got very sleepy. He didn't even take his clothes off. He laid down and fell asleep. When he woke the next morning, he made coffee. He had a cup while he got the package ready to mail off. Once it was ready, he took a shower. He got dressed, including a baseball cap from Jesse's office, taking a coffee-filled thermos, and drove off. It was a hot day, and he liked it hot. Windows down, feeling the air on his left hand and arm. Melvin pulled into the post office. He opened the glove compartment and pulled out sunglasses that were attached to a fake graying beard. He bought it a couple of weeks ago off the internet. After this, he would throw it away. He looked at it in the rearview mirror, patting the beard down, sticking it to his face. Taking a sip of coffee, he opened the door. He stretched, he put the thermos on the seat and shut the door. He grabbed a box, the one he found in Maggie and Jesse's garage. It had the body parts of each family member. All of the parts were wrapped in plastic, and styrofoam peanuts filled the empty space in the box. He also included a short handwritten note on how much of a rude bitch Maggie was, and that's why she and Jesse died. He read the to address again, making sure it was one Maggie told him it was. Melvin dropped the package off and left. He wondered how Patricia would react. He chuckled and drove to Burger King so he could have another coffee and some breakfast. The end.